So, most people think decluttering only works if you make it this big, huge event. A full on, this is going to take an entire weekend kind of project. Yeah, that's the old way. But the good news is, we're not doing things the old way anymore. Hey there, my name is Tracy Lynn, and I help midlife women right size their homes. So, here's what I want you to know right out of the gate before we even get started on this talk today. So many times decluttering fails because we were taught it only works if we turn it into this big thing. And not everyone has the time or the energy for a thing of that size, let alone a decluttering project that tackles an entire room. So we put it off and we tell ourselves, sure, I'll get to it someday. And I'm sure you know where this going. This is going because we keep putting it off for so long that some days never comes. And then one day we're in that space and we jump in with a plan ready to just chuck it all and be done with it. Yes, I've totally done that. And I'm sure you have too. Yes, that scenario is actually common with a lot of people. And the reason why so many are still living in homes that have too much stuff, because instead of fixing it, we're reacting to it. And that is never going to work. So today, we're taking what I talked about in the last handful of videos, I think like the last 3 or 4, and turning it into something you can actually use. A plan that sticks. Because we're not decluttering anymore. We're right sizing. And right sizing isn't about projects, setting aside an entire weekend, or thank goodness, tearing your home apart. This is about making changes just as you go about your day. Small, subtle changes that only take a few seconds but add up in a pretty big way. Kind of like brushing your teeth. Because 5 minutes, a couple times a day, keeps you out of the dentist chair. And 5 minutes of downsizing done consistently can transform your home in a way that lasts. Now, if you think about it, your home is actually giving you these hints all day long, right? Little clues that point out when there's stuff around you that just doesn't really belong there anymore. When you're cooking, when you're getting dressed, even when you're paying your bills or cleaning up after dinner. And if you're anything like me, you're probably doing a lot of this on autopilot. And when you're on autopilot, you don't see the hints. You don't notice the clues, even the ones that are right in front of you. So the first change we're going to make is really, really simple. You're going to slow down just enough to notice what's already there and pay just a little more attention to what's right in front of you. Okay, so let's talk about how this plays out. So as you're going about your normal day, if things start to slow you down or you start to struggle getting things or grabbing stuff, that's your clue to stop just for a second and see what's really going on in that space. So for example, if you reach in the linen closet to grab a towel and you find yourself having to dig for one and then towels falling all over the floor as you grab the one that you want, that's your clue right there. Your home should feel seamless, easy, right? And playing tug of war with a stack of towels, that's anything but easy. So most of the time when something like this happens, we ignore it and we just move on with our day. Not intentionally, but because we just don't really see it anymore, right? But that moment matters more than you might realize. And it's something I want you to start watching for. Notice first, fix second, and then get back to your day. Not later, but right then and there. And the good news is it only takes a couple seconds because remember, we're not decluttering. We are right sizing, and right sizing is quick. It's easy, but it makes a really big difference. Now, since you're already standing there and you can clearly see what the problem is, you can fix it without getting lost in questions or complicated processes. And that's a pretty amazing thing. Because once you start paying attention, you'll notice more and more areas that feel like a struggle. And each time, you're simply reducing what's in that space so it works better for you. And that right there, that's the routine that can completely transform your entire home and keep it that way. So before you start chucking things, there's one more step I want you to take. And it's really, really simple. I want you to ask yourself one question, just one. And it's going to give you the direction you need to tackle any space. And we've talked about this quite often in the last couple of videos, so it shouldn't come to a surprise to you. So what you're going to do is ask, do the items in this area support the way I'm living right now? And that word support, that's the key word right there. It's your buzzword, right? Because it's helping you to be realistic with your answer. It means, do those items help your life run in a way that it looks today with just enough and not too much stuff? So if you're not sure what I mean, let's go back to the towels. If it's just you and your husband struggling with 15 towels crammed into a linen closet, yeah, that's totally stressful and it's not helpful. Remember, this is all about noticing what's working and fixing what's getting in the way. So if 15 towels made sense back when you had a full house and kids at home and family running around, that's totally fine. But remember, we're looking at today. So if it's just you and your husband, that might mean you only need 5 towels, right? 5 in the linen closet and maybe 1 or 2 extra in the guest bedroom. And 5 towels in a linen closet, that's a much more realistic number. So if letting go of a handful of towels is all it takes to fix a space, that is a practical win. Now, if the towel example just isn't your thing, I get it. Don't worry though. I've got a few more to give to you. Let's talk about food storage containers for a second. So most of us have a cabinet full of Tupperware. I think that's what they call it. Well, that's at least what I still call it. Because at one point we needed it, right? Remember, we had big families, busy schedules, leftovers every single night. But now if it's just you, or if it's you and your partner, do you really need 30 containers? Probably not. So the next time you're packing up leftovers and you're struggling to find a lid for the one that actually matches what you're holding in your hand, you ask the same question. How many containers actually support what we eat and cook today? You keep the sizes you use, making sure you have the lids for each of those sizes. You let go of the extras, and all of a sudden, that cabinet works again. Okay? Same thing with socks. If you've got a drawer stuffed with socks you don't wear, socks that don't stay up, socks that lost their mates, socks that you don't even reach for anymore because they're scratchy and itchy and all the things, that's not helpful. That's annoying. Because you don't need 20 pairs of socks if you reach for the same 6 or 7 every single week, right? So you ask, how many socks do I realistically need for the way I'm living right now? You keep the ones that work, your favorite socks, the ones you reach for over and over again, and you let the rest go. And suddenly, getting dressed is easier. Remember, you're not asking, did this used to be helpful, right? You're asking, is it helpful today? We're staying in the present and we're letting go of the past. That is right sizing. You're matching what you own to the life you're actually living right now. Now, once you start using this approach, you're going to notice a few patterns popping up. And this is actually a really good thing. So you start to notice the areas you avoid. Maybe you don't like opening a certain drawer, or you always shut a cabinet really quickly because it's like really annoying to deal with, right? That's usually a sign that something in there no longer fits your routine. Okay. You might also notice yourself working around things. You move something out of the way instead of using it. You reach past the same items every time you're in a space. And when that happens, it's either because that item is in the wrong place or you simply don't need it anymore. So let me give you a real life example. We have this brown adhesive leather repair kit that you use it for like fake leather chairs, right? Like the handles or the seat or the back, whatever it is. And it works great, like really, really great. But here's the problem. We still have that repair kit, but it's for brown leather chairs, and we don't even own a brown leather chair anymore. Seriously. Yet there it sits in the cabinet, getting in my way every time I need to get in there. Why? Well, because it costs $20 and there's still 3/4 of a roll left. I know you can relate to that one. So every time I open that cabinet, I have to move it out of the way to get to the things I actually use. That is a huge clue. That adhesive fit our life perfectly back when we had a brown leather chair, but today it doesn't fit at all. And that's my sign to finally let it go. So another really common example is owning multiples, but only using like 1 or 2 of them, right? And I know we can all relate to that one. The extras, they're usually leftovers from a previous season of our lives. Like in the last video, I think I talked about measuring cups. I had tons of measuring cups, but with just my husband and myself, I only needed like 1 set. Here I was with like 6 or 7 incomplete sets, taking up all that space in my drawer. So I right-sized that cabinet to fit how I'm living right now. Maybe you never really noticed all those multiples, right? Like I didn't really notice all those multiples. Yet there they were. But now that we've had this talk, sorry, loud truck went by. But now that we've had this talk, I hope you start noticing it now. That's what I want for you. Just to pause, take a breath, let things sit for a second and notice what you're struggling with. Because noticing is now your clue, not to start a big project, just to right size that area, that small space that you're in right now while you're already there. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Do your best to stop going through your day on autopilot and be on the lookout for spaces that are frustrating you or slowing you down. When you find one of those spaces, stop and ask yourself this question. Does this support the life I'm living today? Do the things in this area end up being items that I'm always using or always moving out of the way to get what I need? Use that answer to make your adjustment right then and there. That's it. That's the habit. And listen, this doesn't mean your house is suddenly going to transform and become this perfect place overnight. It's going to take time. It's not going to be perfect. Mine's not perfect. And I'm sure other people watching, their homes aren't perfect either. But it will start working better for you, because when your home matches how you're living today, everything feels lighter. So the next time you're cooking dinner or getting dressed or opening a drawer that totally annoys you, don't ignore it. Just notice, adjust, and then get back to your day. That's right sizing. And once you start living that way, your home starts taking care of itself. Whew, not so many faux pas this time around. I'm getting a little bit better, but that's all I have for you today. Now, before you go, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe so I can bring you more helpful content just like this. And if there's an area in your home you're struggling to right size so it fits how you're living now, leave me a comment. Maybe I'll add it to my coming up soon video list and make it a video in the future. Until then, I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.